Hi there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through another fast and easy layer cake quilt. So come along and I'll show you what I did. Now this is the Riley Blake 10-inch square pack I'm using. There are 42 squares. You can use any layer cake for this. It doesn't matter, lights or darks, florals, not florals. Anything is going to work for what I'm going to show you today. After pressing these layer cakes, my method here is I'm taking 3 different layer cakes and I'm making random cuts. Sometimes I'm using 3 layer cakes, sometimes I'm using 4, but I'm making sure they're all different. You can stack up as many as you feel comfortable cutting. Next, I took my ruler, my cutting mat, and my rotary cutter, and I just made 2 random cuts on these 3 pieces of fabric, dividing them into 3 parts. Now I'm just going to rearrange these so the 3 pieces are different, and those 3 different pieces will be made into one finished block. After making the cuts and rearranging the pieces, I moved those over to start a stack from which I'm later going to sew. Now with this stack, I cut it in half and then I cut each half in half. So when I stitch these back together, I've got to make sure my halves stay together. I continued making my cuts on small stacks of fabric and adding them to my pile to be stitched. Now this particular choice of cut for this stack caused me problems later, but we'll talk about that later. Now that those are all cut and stacked up in a stack, it's time to start stitching these pieces back together to make a square. At the top of the stack, you'll see I cut the top section into 3 parts. That's going to be super easy to stitch those 3 parts together. Then I will need to press those seams before I attach that bottom piece. I did take advantage of chain piecing wherever possible. Here you'll see I'm taking those 2 on the right from the top section. I'm chain piecing all of those. Then I'm going back and adding that left hand piece. Then I'll go back one more time and add the bottom piece. As I'm separating these, I'm putting the last one I stitched on the bottom. That way it keeps it in the same order that I sewed them in. Once I had pressed that top section, I put it in the correct order for the bottom section, and then I stitched those together. Now there's really no need to worry about whether these seams overhang a little bit. That's going to happen because of the way I'm doing these angles. It's just not going to match. It's going to be wonky, but that's all fine because we're going to be trimming these down to a square shape anyway. After I stitched the last piece on these blocks, I took it to the iron, pressed it open, and you can see the edges don't match up. There's a lot of wonkiness happening. That's all just fine. We're going to trim those blocks down later. I specifically pointed out this group of blocks at the beginning when I did the cutting. We'll talk about it more when I went to square up the blocks. So what I'm looking for with my finished stack of blocks before trimming, I'm looking for which one is the smallest. So I took one that had 3 cuts and I measured it, and it looks like I'm going to need to trim this to a 9-inch square. So since I want all my blocks to be the same, I'm going to trim them all to 9 inches. So if you didn't catch this while I flipped through the stack, here it is. Because there were 3 seams on this block, that reduced my 10-inch measurement down to 8.5 inches. Now I needed this quilt to measure 6 by 7. If I took away these 4 blocks that were too small, I would only have 38 blocks, and that was going to mess everything up. So I took one of my blocks and I cut it into 4 strips, and I extended the length of these 4 shorter blocks. This left me in need of 1 block, so I found an orphan block in my stash, cut it down to 9 inches, and I just put it in my quilt. I think it's kind of cool that this quilt, as it's finished, has a little secret that may or may not be noticed. The only thing I thought about was whether I wanted to put sashing in this quilt or not. Ultimately, I decided I was just going to sew blocks together and not use any sashing. I did not lay these blocks out to decide where they should go in the quilt. The only thing I did as I sewed my rows together was make sure there weren't 2 exact duplicates or matches right next to each other. Once I had 21 pairs of 2 blocks each, then I started assembling my rows, which were 6 blocks wide. So I needed 3 sets to make 1 row. Once all 7 rows were completed, all I had to do was join the rows together, and I didn't put them in any particular order. Then my quilt top was complete. And here is this finished quilt top. My supervisor definitely approves. At this point, I'd spent 4 hours total making this quilt top. Not bad, but I thought I could do better, and I had some time, so I went ahead and finished the quilt. So here we go. I had a couple of pieces of batting that were not quite large enough for this quilt, so I joined them together with a zigzag stitch along a straight line. If you don't have a straight line, just use your cutting mat and a ruler to make a straight line. For my backing, I had a floral print that I had picked up at a thrift store. It was not wide enough for this quilt, but by cutting it in half, putting the 2 halves together, it was large enough for this quilt top. Once I had joined those 2 pieces together, I trimmed the excess and I pressed the seam open, and now it's time to build a quilt sandwich. I'll leave a link in the description to another quilt finishing video where I go into a little bit more detail about putting the quilt sandwich together using pins. On that quilting video, I used a zigzag stitch diagonally across the quilt. On this quilt, I decided to sew down on the seams that divide the blocks, going vertically and horizontally, and I'm going to stitch very close to the seam line, about 1/8 of an inch on both sides of each seam that is joining 2 blocks together. And as I said, I'm just using the straight stitch. I started out with a 2.5 stitch length, and about halfway down this first line, I changed that to a 3.5 stitch length. There's no need for this to be a very close together stitch. Before I get too far into this, I wanted to show you how that double stitch line looks from the front and then the back of the quilt. Starting with the batting, finishing this quilt took an additional 3 hours, so this became a 7-hour total quilt, start to finish. When I was done doing all the quilting that I wanted to do, I trimmed all the edges to a nice straight edge, and then I added my binding. Now I have a few rolls of pre-made binding. This one happens to be a batik fabric I've been using a lot of lately. To start my binding, I fold down this 2.5-inch strip in half and press it, but at the start I want to have a little pocket. So I fold down a 45-degree fold, then I fold the binding back in half, and then when I start on the back of the quilt attaching this binding, I make sure and leave that pocket open because when I get all the way around, I'm going to tuck the tail end in that pocket. And if you want more details on the binding and a slower demonstration, just check that link in the description. Once I've got that binding all the way attached to the back, I flip it around to the front. And I decided to stitch this down to the front with a zigzag stitch. Once you get all the way around your quilt, you are completely finished, and it's a great feeling to be finished. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell icon, you'll get notified when I post new videos. As always, have fun when you're sewing. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.